I am in the process of trying to get full vision of my vortex. I'm in a transitional...
You mean you want it to manifest? We really want to hear you.
Yes, I'm a new follower. Yes, I want it to manifest.
That's why you use the word vision. But first you have to get the feel of it. What does it feel like? And once you become so familiar with the feeling of what's in your vortex, then the thoughts start turning to things, and then you get to see it.
I very much agree. A year and a half ago, I was in the Boston area visiting family and friends, and I was going through a hard time. And I talked to a friend of mine who mentioned you, and she said, "You're in the vortex right now." And I was like, "What's in the vortex?" So I've been in the vortex, but I'm outside of the vortex right now.
Let's talk about what that means. We like the way you're approaching this. We wrote a book that said, get into the vortex. And what we really meant was calibrate to what's in there. Calibrate to your inner being who's in there, to all of the things you want that are in there. Calibrating to the vortex and being in the vortex, that's what we mean. So when you are calibrated there, then that's when those thoughts turn to things, and that's when you begin to see the manifestation of what's there.
I understand. So what I'm having trouble with when you start talking today is fine-tuning where I want to be. And
Well, the thing is, we know that's what it feels like, because when you are doing things in a physical way, it feels like you have to get right into the nitty-gritty of it, and you have to be very detailed and exact about what you're doing. But what we want you to understand about the vortex is you've been fine-tuning it by living life. Every single time you knew what you didn't want about something, you calibrated what you did want. So there is an exact version of each and everything that you want that is there vibrating and waiting for you. And your probability of getting into the vortex is much greater if you do it in a general way than if you try to do it in a specific way. Because when you try to do the specific, it tunes you to what already is about it. Where when you calibrate to the general, it's easier for you to get there. And then while in the vortex, the specifics become clearer and clearer.
Got it.
Yeah, you did get it.
Can I just share with you what has been creating confusing thoughts in my head? So I'm at the stage where my husband and I, we have 2 children. They're in their 20s. They're launched. And what comments from other friends about grandchildren and looking forward to having grandchildren. And I've been thinking a lot about it, and I don't want any grandchildren.
Or you could say, I don't want the usual relationship with grandchildren that most people are assigned.
Yes.
Every time something happens that makes you know you don't want grandchildren, like what? Like they're pinned down, like the grandparents don't have freedom. What kinds of things are making you so sure you don't want any?
Yes, so that's what I've been, I have awareness of this now, and I heard what you said about meditating.
But we're asking you a question.
So you're asking, okay, so what is it? So maybe the journey with raising 2 daughters in our somewhat crazy country was a lot of work that I felt as a parent.
So do you not want grandchildren because you don't think your children are capable of having children?
No, I do.
So it isn't their
relationship. Maybe I have a fear they're going to dump them on me.
Well, maybe you think that's exactly what's bothering you. So before they're even born, they're trampling your toes of freedom. It's logical that you might feel that way because you witness that around. So what we're getting at is when you know that you don't want that, you're calibrating something that you do want. Do you think you can put words to what it is you want?
Well, I think I'm getting clarity. So when I was raising our 2 daughters, I worked part-time. So I was dabbled in my career, and the younger one had some anxiety issues, so I was really kind of in the trenches a lot, but it all in the end turned out well. And I think that I'm craving a career more than grandchildren and questioning if I'm too
Maybe, but here's the thing. It gets a little complicated, but we can help you clear it up easily here. So you were a lot of bit, a helicopter mom.
Well, I live in Orange County, so you'd think that, but no. Wasn't a helicopter mom, but at times maybe I was over involved, yes. Okay.
Vibrations don't lie.
I was a helicopter mom.
Well, that's a fun way of saying that you were over-involved. And so you don't trust yourself to not continue that pattern.
Yeah.
So therefore, you would like to snuff out the existence of them.
Yes!
Rather than gain control of your own point of attraction. We can see how that would be.
Except my eldest is following you now, so we have that. Okay.
So
maybe I need a break?
you just want to understand how this all works. So let's play with this process that we just offered. It's all right. This is easy for you to understand. So let's just take the subject at hand. Something happens and you feel like you didn't follow your own dreams, and you feel a little sacrificed, like maybe you committed too much to that aspect of your life and not enough to some other aspects of your life, and you feel like you didn't really serve yourself as well as you could, and you're feeling a little guilty and a little blameful that you didn't get to do more of what you want to do. And that's understandable, because that was a bit how it was, and that's how you perceive it to be. And now you're just beginning to taste freedom, but you're basing your taste of freedom on the way life is, in that the girls are now raised, they're on their own, they're not requiring so much of you. And so you're basing your feeling of freedom on the condition of them being gone. So let's talk about this in light of what we were talking about already here today. When they were there and needing you, you were right there like any good mother would be, and you sacrificed so many things that you might have wanted to do, feeling like that was the right thing to do, and kind of got all wadded up in that, and you just don't want to keep doing that. That's easy to understand. So the situation is, then the one that's kind of giving you some negative emotion is, I haven't felt my freedom because of the conditions that surrounded me. And I couldn't really control the conditions, because you got to do what you got to do. And I'm worried about conditions of grandchildren binding me up in that same way, where I will be without choices. And so what's bothering me is that I feel that I was without a lot of choices, and I'm worried that I might again be without choices. And the emotion that I'm feeling is not free and having to make hard decisions. We're speaking from your perspective. I haven't trained myself to be selfish in nature, so I often don't do what I really want to do. I almost always yield to what's better for somebody else, and then I resent the situation because I'm giving up something that really matters. Now, what we want you to hear in all of this is that that's the way people who are living life through action often feel, because there's not enough action in the day to really get the big stuff done that you want to get done. There's only these many hours and this much action, and if all of these situations require that much action, then you feel like there isn't much left for you. But we want to go back to something that we said earlier today. The inner being part of you, the leverage of that, is 1,000,000 times more powerful than the action part of you. When you tap in, when you calibrate to the energy of who you really are, that's when big things happen. There's a leverage in that until you've experienced it a little bit, it seems like a pipe dream. It doesn't feel real, and so you can't let yourself go there. And that's why so often people don't let themselves dream what they really want to dream, or even hope for what they really want to do, because they're not used to the cooperative universe helping them out. They're used to the struggle of all that they can do with their action and movement and words. And that's what we're wanting to free you from. We're wanting you to understand that there is a leverage that will give you all of that. And we can feel you getting that, or wanting to, understanding it for sure. So now let's take the book process that we were talking about, the calibration. And so the situation is, I didn't understand leverage as my girls were growing up. I accomplished a lot, and I was good at it, and you were, through my action and through my effectiveness and through my efficiency. And I was someone that made things happen. I got stuff done. I'm good at that. But in the process, I felt not free and not personally fulfilled, and like there were a whole lot of things that I wanted to do that I couldn't do because I was so busy doing all of that. I didn't really understand the process of creation, and I really want to understand the process of creation. So on this subject, I feel a little overwhelmed by the idea of grandchildren and confused about what my actual physical part in it is, and worried that it'll just be the same old happening to me all over again, and it'll just be the next generation of an excuse I use to not really do what I want to do. So there it is. Now you're going to go to the other side, and you're going to do real calibration, which is where you're not talking about words and action anymore, or like raising kids or even tending grandchildren. You're talking about calibration to who you really are and what you really want. And so what you're reaching for is, how do I really feel about my girls? I love them so much. How do I feel about my girls having children to love? I want them to have that delicious experience of their own children. Can you feel that at all, or are we stretching too far for you?
I have to project.
But
yes,
the thing that's important, what just happened to you here, and we did it to you, we went to this calibration page, and while we were over there, we pointed back to the problem that was bothering you. And so we just dragged the problem right back over here, and so then you couldn't find an open, free-feeling thought. So that's not the most effective way to calibrate. So calibrating is, how do I really feel? Am I in love with life, or is life a burden? I love life. Am I eager about what's coming in this next phase of my life, or am I tired and ready to call it done? I'm eager about what's coming next. Are there things that I would like to do, or did I crush all of them so much previously that it's not even possible to find those dreams? No, I can see them coming up again. Am I assigned specific behavior in what's coming next, or do I have more choices than I've been letting myself take? I have more choices. Is this about action, or is this about alignment? It's about alignment. Am I more confused in life, or am I more clear in life? I'm clear. Do I know what I want, or do I have no clue what I want? I know what I want. You see what we're getting at? Once we got off that subject and you took a more general look at your life, it was easy for you to calibrate into your clarity. And each time you do that, you'll feel more distance from obligation and more exhilaration about possibilities and who you really are. Because your inner being lived through all of that with you, and every time you were not feeling fulfilled, you asked for something that your inner being calibrated around. So cooperative components that you cannot even imagine, we cannot even lead you down the trail of them right now, are lurking all around, ready for you to just find through the path of least resistance a new feeling place into it. And so there's an analogy that we offer often, and we're going to offer it here because it'll sort of jolt you into a funny awareness of what you've been doing relative to don't want any grandkids. Imagine that you're standing here in all of your beingness, and you know that there's a world out there that you're going to encounter. And you've been encountering the world in a coping way, so that's what you're used to. And so you get up a profile of yourself, and you hook into all of the social media outlets and on all the search engines, and your page says, this is me, it's a picture of you, and this is what I need from you should I encounter you. And so you just make all your statements. I need clear traffic, and I prefer positive attitudes. And when I come to a restaurant, I want good service. I want people to treat me well. You just make all these lists of requirements of what you need from this world that you can feel yourself walking into. So when you see me, you must behave in the way that I require, because this is an important phase of my life. I just got free of all of this struggle and responsibility, and now I'm walking out into the world. I don't want any of you in my way, so do what I need you to do. Well, you can feel how ridiculous that request is. You're not going to get the world to contour to you, nor are you going to get your children or their children or their children to do it. So what you do instead is you can calibrate to your own vortex, which is already been created, to the freedom and the expansion and the joyous life experience that you want.